Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Today on the podcast, I'm speaking with John Hartley. John is the Executive Director at the World Firefighter Games. Now, the world of Firefighter Games, Firefighter Challenges, Firefighter events is ever expanding, but the World Firefighter Games is not a new thing. It has been around since way back in 1990, was their very first one at Auckland in New Zealand. They had over 1,800 athletes in 17 countries compete in 34 different events. Now, this is different to many of the challenges that people in the UK will perhaps be familiar with, and it's very much more an Olympic style model. It's an international sporting event that welcomes full-time, part-time and volunteer firefighters and bush firefighters, aviation, military, and anyone and their direct families involved in the fire and rescue service. Now, the games happen biannually, that means every other year, in different countries, and they offer more than 50 different sporting events and challenges, including some of the staple stuff you will recognise: archery, rugby, windsurfing, poker, swimming, athletics, softball, and the toughest firefighter alive, and some of those blue ribbon events that we're all familiar with. Purpose of the games was put together with 4 real key concepts behind it: promoting health and fitness amongst our first responders, providing a forum for information exchange between fire services. It's a fantastic networking event, stuff like this. They foster comradeship amongst firefighters, and they encourage family participation. As you'll hear in my conversation with John today, if your children are over 18 years of age, they can also come and participate in the Firefighter Games. So we are putting this one out early. We've leapfrogged it ahead of a bunch of different episodes because you need to get in there if you want to be at the World Firefighter Games 2024. It's in Aalborg, Denmark this year, and it's held September 7th to the 14th. We'll put a link in the notes for the podcast so you can go over to their website and you can register there. You can look at travel, you can look at tourist attractions, you can look at the events, you can look at the program. All the information is over there, so please do have a look in the notes for this episode. And again, as you're looking into the rest of the year, if you're setting those challenges for yourself, maybe you're doing the British this year, maybe you're doing an ultramarathon that we've spoken about on the podcast, maybe you're doing high rocks, maybe you're doing something else. But if you are looking for something spicy, that you want to go and have an incredible event, you want to go meet firefighters from across the world, you want to go as part of a team, maybe you're UK rugby team, maybe your badminton team, maybe whatever, you are going to go over there. Maybe Tabs, you at your local station, you are just incredible at table tennis and you want to head over to the World Firefighter Games, spend a couple of days there, have an absolute scream, have some good drinks, have some good food, meet some incredible people, your brothers and sisters from all over the world. Then the Firefighter Games is absolutely something you need to be going and having a look at. So have a look at the notes and get the link from there. You can go on and contact with John's team. And I've also put a link in there for John Hartley's LinkedIn account if you need to access and you want to make contact with him specifically as well. So without further ado, let's get in there with today's guest, John Hartley, Executive Director at the World Firefighter Games. I'll see you on the other side. John, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Pete. How are you? Well, afternoon.
I'm wonderful, my good man. How the hell are you?
Oh, well, the sea breeze has finally come in, so it's down to about 33 degrees now.
Where are we finding you? In which place of the world are you today?
Rockingham, Western Australia.
How long have you been out there for now?
What are we? 53 years.
Wow. Okay, so you've lived out in Australia 53 years. Where did you start your career then?
I was on an alumina refinery as an emergency response team.
How long did you spend in that work?
26 years before my back gave up.
Okay. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. When did you first have your first interactions with Firefighter Games and challenges?
The games were held in Perth in 1994, and we received an invite from the World Firefighter Games to compete through our refinery. Put a team in for the 1994 World Firefighter Games, which were held here in Perth.
So that was very early on, wasn't it? Because it started in 88, did it start?
Well, the first games was in 1990.
Roger that. Right, yeah, first ones in New Zealand, weren't they?
Yep. New Zealand, then Las Vegas, then Perth.
God, I bet Las Vegas was pretty incredible. So 94, you first got involved in this.
Yeah.
Why did the World Firefighter Games get started? Because this is probably an important distinction that you could probably help some of our listeners with.
Well,
what's the difference between this and the other challenges and the police and World Firefighter Games, and there's lots of different variations of things out there?
I think the World Firefighter Games, initially they were started by an American, a gentleman by the name of Bill Gray, who I think saw the World Police and Fire Games and thought he could develop something along the same lines, but just honing in on the fire service. So he initiated the games. Auckland were the first ones to pick up the inaugural games. And from there it went to Las Vegas, and then the West Australian firefighters did a lot of fundraising to get their team there, both Auckland and Las Vegas. And the Bill Gray wanted sort of out. He'd had enough after two games. So the West Australian firefighters formed World Firefighter Games WA Inc. And then they bought him out. For how much? I don't know.
I remember reading, and I don't know if this was bullshit or like you'll have to help us connect the dots here, but the World Police and Fire Games was only available to full-time paid firefighters.
Yep.
I think that was a bit of a, I want to say elitist maybe a little bit, but like a lot of nations across the world, a large percentage of our fire and rescue service are volleys, aren't they? Volunteers.
Yep. And that was it. That was the elitist bit. Whereas, excuse me, the World Police and the World Firefighter Games involved everyone that's involved with the fire service. You know, from the guy who's got his hand on the branch to the guy or the lady who's at the back typing out bulletins for the fire service, whatever, that full spectrum. And then they also volunteers and retired firefighters.
Because there is almost a hypocrisy to it when we talk about the firefighting family, but then if we only extend that to full-time operational firefighters, that just like screams the two-tier system. Like, you know, backroom staff aren't as good as anybody else, and they're not really part of the fire service and all that. And
volunteers
of
aren't part of the fire, really part of the fire service. And as it was out here, on permanents, we call them permanents in Western Australia, our perms, for want of a better nickname, are only based in the major cities. And so we've got them permanently going from the south, Albany, Bunbury, Mandurah, Perth, Geraldton, I think Karratha, and maybe Port Hedland. Now, that's not a lot of area to cover from permanent. So the rest of the state, in fact, the West Australian Fire Brigade covers the largest area of land than any other fire service in the world. But it's covered, that it is totally supported by volunteers when we go out into the bush. When I say the bush, it's probably 60 miles from Perth, and that's where you need to volunteer. Then you've got it broken down again. You've got the volunteer bushfire service, and you've got the volunteer fire and rescue. Fire and rescue do vehicle extrication, structural, all the same things as a normal permanent firefighter would do. Whereas the bushfire brigade, they only fight bushfires. They're not trained in BA and structural attack or anything like that. But When the balloon does go up, they all come together and, in fact, we had a large incident it'd only be 4 or 5 miles to the north of us yesterday, and that was a conveyor belt fire in a fertilizer factory. Yeah, and so of course
fertilizer, it stinks.
Yeah, and being a conveyor belt, so they had 70 permanents turn out, which is just about a level 5. And then the bushfire brigade followed, and the volunteer fire and rescue were there, and the bushfire brigade. So they were all backing up as and when required, because we're just south of a major industrial complex where we are in Western Australia, and that's the closest one to us, I think, Wesfarmers. So yeah.
So, stupid question. They we use terms like volunteer, on call, and stuff like that, and we won't go too far down this rabbit hole because I know it's not the purpose of our conversation today. But are they purely volunteer? They don't get paid at all? Do they not get some sort of reimbursement?
No, nothing.
Isn't that surreal? Like from your awareness of different countries around the world, and like the UK as an example, why have other countries? Maybe we'll use the UK as an example. We do have a lot of great volunteers. There's a lot of great volunteers still everywhere. But people don't necessarily volunteer for something like this. It is a massive...
Yeah.
Some people say it's a massive imposition. I'd say it's a massive honour. But again, you got to pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's... why... What is it about the culture out there that you still get such a strong volunteer sector?
Well, when you say a strong volunteer sector, I was just looking at the volunteer numbers in Western Australia over the last 5 years, and they're on the decline.
Okay.
Right? They've come down about 8 to 10,000 overall in total in the last 5 or 6 years. But people just like giving to the community here. You know, that's the bottom line. You know, and you ask them, and they'll go, "Well, I'm going to get training, which I can take those skills with me into my job, into a job."
Yes.
You know,
that's a big thing that I think employers don't understand as well,
the BA, the first aid, all of that is transportable, because now they have to be trained to a certain standard, and those standards are transportable to wherever they go. So people benefit that way, and they're appreciative of getting those skills, but also helping the local community.
There is there's some really interesting studies, and again, we won't go much further here, but like there's some really interesting, when you start to pay someone for something that they did voluntarily anyway, it has a real distortion on motivation and the value that we attach to things. Because again, on the old hierarchy of needs, there's many ways you can get social acknowledgement, the fact you're doing something good for the community, you can get that moral good feeling. But because we're so conditioned to a monetary value to stuff, it's like you stamp that on it, and then that seems to be the only thing it is. Then it's the world of comparison of, well, why is John getting $16 and I'm getting $14 or whatever? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it can really, really distort it. So the games has been going. What has it been now? I think it's been 14 or 15.
34 years.
Oh, there was so Vegas got cancelled and we had the COVID one as well.
No, Vegas didn't get cancelled. Vegas went ahead. Then I joined in '94 for Perth. Then we went.
No, I was thinking 2014. Sorry, I was getting my count wrong. Yeah. So 2014 got cancelled.
Yeah, 2014.
And then we had the COVID one.
There's a lot of bad history in that. Then in 2015, there was nothing left of the World Firefighter Games. Basically nothing.
Oh wow. Why? What happened there? Because COVID, wasn't.
We didn't have the games in 14 because of outside dynamics. 16 was nowhere on the horizon because of economics, and the gentleman who was in charge of it then decided to retire, and there was 5 or 6 of us still involved, hoping that the games would kick off again. And then I was nominated as the Chief Executive Officer in 2015, and then Nothing happened for 16. And then I'd come home from work, sitting here, and I got a phone call. And no disrespect, I didn't understand the phone call. So they called me back, and it was Korea. And that's where we kicked off again, 2018 in Cheongju. And that
got a good relationship with them, haven't you? Because you did Daegu in 2010.
Yeah, mate. The Koreans, you cannot want for a better people.
Really?
No,
I've never been. It looks beautiful.
Oh, it is, and the people are beautiful.
I know they get a lot of bad rap with North Korea, but it's a totally different sort of thing. It's this whole different politics and nation, really.
Yeah. But, South Korea, the people are so friendly, and if they see you on the street and you're lost, they'll come up and try and help you. And if they don't speak English and you don't speak Korean, they will invariably call someone who can speak English to translate for them to help you.
Bless them.
That's how amazing that place is.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely incredible. So we had Cheongju in 2018.
Yep.
And then the proverbial shit show of the global pandemic.
Yep.
Put a kibosh on everything.
Yep.
That must have been a really heavy lift to get it back off its feet again, as you'd literally just 3 years earlier worked so hard as a team to get it back on its feet again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, honestly.
Why did you keep going? Why did you not just go, you know what, it's been great, let's knock it on the head?
Because I love it. It's what I believe in. I love going to these games and seeing the firefighters, male, female, old and young, having fun and enjoying it and meeting new people, making new friendships and absorbing the local community and its cultures. That's what it's all about.
Mm.
It's not about me. I just keep pushing through, and my wife, because that's all I want to see happen is all these firefighters come together, one area every 2 years. And I will admit, what was said to me in Korea brought tears to my eyes. I couldn't speak because of what was said to me. Not nastily, it was just in appreciation. It was just out of this world, and it's not what I expected. I don't do it for the pats on the back. I do it for the firefighters. And when these people came up and said what they said to me, it was just so moving emotionally. So that's what keeps me going, knowing that I'm bringing, me, the team, we're bringing enjoyment to firefighters. After, they have all the stresses of work, not only work, but home life and all that. And then once every 2 years, hopefully, they can go there and let off steam.
Yeah.
Now,
there's so much that gets covered across this. For people that I always have to pull us out of the rabbit holes or like the closed conversations sometimes, because I have to be cognizant of the fact that there'll be people who have never heard of the World Firefighter Games. There will be people in the brand new starting in their career. This is what's something very unique about the UK at the minute. We've got so many new people coming into the services. Real fit, healthy, really active people. We've seen tremendous growth with a lot of the challenges that myself and John Gregory are involved in. Obviously, John organises the British, and then we've seen the Welsh and the Cheshire, and there's stuff sprouting up. Scotland want to do their own thing. There's loads sprouting up all over the place. The World Firefighter Games does have a lot of the traditional combat challenges, toughest firefighter alive challenge type model that people would have seen. But the unique thing about this that people won't know, because there's some people that want to get involved in stuff like this, but they maybe don't have an appetite for the specific firefighter challenge stuff. You guys and girls cover like loads. I think, how many events do you have?
40 events.
There's 40 events. And I mean, these are, I'm looking at the list now, so I'm not going to waste everyone's time reading all of them, but literally stuff that everyone will recognize: badminton, basketball, archery, arm wrestling. Jesus Christ, you've got arm wrestling. Billiards, bodybuilding, cross country, cycling, darts, firehouse cook-off, judo, karate, marathons, pool, Rowing. Man, I might do the rowing. Tell you what, I've really been getting really good at rowing lately, just by accident, doing a lot of CrossFit stuff. Water rescue, water polo, windsurfing, triathlons, and then again, the staples of your toughest firefighter alive. And, oh, mate, table tennis. Jesus, you've got tabs in it. Jesus, table tennis is like the biggest sport on fire stations. In other news, this episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the centre of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. You can view battery life, air pressure and estimated time remaining either independently on the M1 itself or from the Lunar connected device screen. Also, still with the air status, alarm information, search status and all of this provided to the incident command for confident decision making during the scene. That integrates straight in with the Lunar system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. One of the key parts of the Lunar is their FAST system, the Firefighting Assisting Search Technology. This combines directional and distance information with thermal imaging to help find separated teammates and decrease response time. It actually connects you to the other crews in the vicinity for a unified search during the time of mutual aid by instantly notifying the network of Lunar devices when there is a downed crew member, allowing for a prompt search and rescue. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. It enables you to see the exact location of your firefighters on the scene. And it doesn't require you to be sat on the station. The MSA Hub then provides a wireless gateway straight to the cloud, enabling wireless on-scene data for local and remote incident command for additional eyes on the scene. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity. MSA is dedicated to increasing safety in the fire service through technological advancements. Various feature enhancements, new products, partnerships, and integrations will provide additional capabilities readily accessible by products, software, and services in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
You can take your children there, and if they're over 18, they're also allowed to compete.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
wow,
why
that's incredible.
I said it at Chengdu that we're the inclusive games. Wives, children over 18, just for insurance things, can compete. We also have one for the whole family, which I'm pretty sure they're going to run it, is a treasure hunt. So if you've got little kids in that, you can take your kids. Kids can come along with mum and dad on the treasure hunt, just to involve everyone in the games.
Mate, that's awesome. How big is the organisation? Because I say there's 40 plus events. That it really is. It's like an Olympics because the facilities, the resources, the amount of venues. Even as I'm just looking down the list there, you've got multiple sports of things like rugby and stuff like this that require. They're big. That's a big thing to organise. A rugby tournament on its own would be a massive thing to organise, and that is just one of 40 massive things that you've got going on.
The host city are awarded the games, and then they go to the local community, like the rugby club, the soccer club, football club, tennis club, swimming club, and all these, and bring them in to be involved, so that they're also expanding it to the utilising the wider community. Yeah. But still coordinating it.
Which is probably really great for all their local economy as well. Gets all the sports clubs involved, gets the social aspect of it. Yep. It really is like a city festival style whole thing, isn't it? Because I bet all these nations just descend on this place like an Olympics. Do you know what I mean? I bet it's incredible.
It is a type of a form of mini Olympics for firefighters with five specific events, and we also allow the country, the hosting country, to be able to include up to 4 events of like national type. So if you was in Scotland, if it's Scotland, say Glasgow held it, they could have toss in the caber if they liked. They could add that in.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be cool.
So it allows them a little bit to show off their own culture as far as sports go.
So when you're looking at putting these sorts of things together, like you say, you get the host nations on board. How do people actually apply for it? How do they get their teams together? And how early do you start advertising this sort of stuff? Because I know we're talking about 2024 now. This is still available for people to put in for it, isn't it? So it's still, people can still continue to put teams and everything in. I mean, it's September.
Yeah.
So it'll be tomorrow almost, really.
It's up to the host country to decide when they're going to close the registration. Right. I would suggest to people, get your registrations in early, because they are saying that some of the events are close to being full. You know, like I think golf, that's nearly full. The TFA, that's about 60%
Jesus Christ. Golf is like Marmite, isn't it? I suppose some people, it's never clicked for me. Nah. But golf it's one of the most participated sports in the world. I think it's huge. Absolutely colossal, but it was never my thing. But
more people die playing golf than any other sport in the world, so I'm staying away from it. Yeah. Didn't you know
they get eaten by a crocodile on the course or something, or get hit in the head with a ball? I don't know.
A lot of them are aged people, and they go on the course and.
Yeah, I suppose so. The 80-year-old having a heart attack on the 16th green.
Yeah.
And they tie that to golf. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, people can still register for this. Do you know how it works with sporting leave and things like that? What's the common, again, you can't speak on behalf of every freaking nation in the world, but from your experiences, how do people go about getting support from their teams, from their services, from their nations? Is there any advice you have for how people could navigate that conversation with their services? What do you see usually work?
A lot of fire services do support. It depends on the financial or the economics of the country that they're living in for national support, local support. I won't offer an individual invitation. Like I won't send Pete Wakefield a specific invitation to come to the World Firefighter Games. I will mention Pete Wakefield and any of his colleagues who would like to attend to the World Firefighter Games. Could you help them? That sort of thing. So it's a generalised, so it's not just for the one person. And I've done that on several occasions. Whether it's worked for them or not, I don't know. I sent one to Gibraltar a few weeks ago for the Gibraltars to attend. And
who was that? Was that Matt? Do you know who is it who reached out to you? So Gibraltar, I've got some really fit boys and girls in their fire and rescue service, and Matt and a few members of the team.
He's one of your blokes.
Go to stuff like this.
The Firefighter Challenge. I can't remember his. Yeah, Matt. I think his name.
Yeah, probably be Matt. Well, there's a couple of them that go around the world doing the events. But I think we've got a couple going over from the UK this year as well. Me and John are still having the conversations about how we can try and get there, because we're all going out to. This might come. No, in fact, we'll put this out before we go away, because we'll all be out in Saudi soon as well. So talk to me about the sort of stuff that you do, helping and supporting other organisations, and because you're kind of like a wartime general with this now, planning these massive events.
Oh, I wouldn't put it that way. If someone wants advice, and I have the knowledge to be able to pass that on, I'm more than happy to do it. You know, I'm not going to step in and take over someone else's event. They want to organise it, not a problem. I'll give them advice or pointers, but don't ask me to come and run your event. And thankfully, no one has, because maybe they think I'm not good enough. So that's good. Keep thinking that way.
No, mate. So when we get invited to so much stuff now, learning to say no in a polite way is actually a very important skill set, isn't it? When people want you to do stuff, and you can just become a busy fool being crap or half good at a lot of things. Learning to say, look, if you want me to attend, this is what I'm going to do. This is the value that I think I'm going to add, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to organise it. I'm not going to organise accommodation. I'm not going to do logistics. I'm not going to do it. I'll turn up. I'll host it or whatever, and I'll support it and advertise it and compete.
Or give them contacts, you know.
Or give you contacts. I'm not going to do the thing.
No, not at all.
Today's podcast is powered by our partner Lifelines and their revolutionary approach to functional hydration. Just like in firefighting, water is essential for body function, but studies show more than 80% of firefighters are dehydrated. A 25-year study findings from the National Institute of Health showed poor hydration to be linked to early aging and chronic disease, and even mild dehydration results in significant negative impact outcomes including headaches, exhaustion, rapid pulse, irritability, and poor cognitive function. A study conducted by Yale University showed that participants who were just 1% dehydrated had a 12% increase in errors when performing tasks that required cognitive flexibility. In addition, dehydration is shown to worsen mood and attitude, contribute to confusion and poor decision making, and negatively affect memory and judgment. In other words, you really don't want your incident commander, firefighter, or for that matter any first responder on a critical scene to be even slightly dehydrated. Mild dehydration occurs when a person is just 1.5% dehydrated, a condition that does not even trigger the thirst response in most people. So just imagine how quickly a firefighter or any first responder can and does become dehydrated in their day-to-day duties, which is why I address my hydration first thing every day with Lifelines. Go into the notes for this episode and specifically check out Lifelines Hydro Fuel and Hydro OG by clicking in the notes for the podcast for a clean energy solution designed for those who demand more from their day. Now back to the show. So when we look at the events coming around for this year, is there any that you have a particular fondness for? Is there any that you have as favourites? Are there any returning athletes or things that you think would be worth people looking out for September?
Oh, well, there's so many. My wife calls them her sons. She goes there and there's so many firefighters from around the world that we've met. And, I just love seeing them all again. It's just great to see that they're coming back and that they're still healthy and safe. It's a family. Whether people want to say it's not, well, I'm sorry, but I will say it's a family. And I will do 100%. My best to make everyone happy at those games. If there's
you tend to meet firefighters from all over the world, they're pretty much all the same. The culture, the nation, the language might be different, but there's something about kind of like the moral compass of the individual, the type of, you kind of know the type of person that they are.
Yeah.
They're get shit done, helping out. You can leave your bags with them. You could leave your kids with them. They're good people usually. Do you know what I mean? 99% are just people that are strong moral fibre.
Yeah. We've all got the same thing in common. And to do that job, you need the strong moral fibre. Because at the end of the day, it's teamwork. And you've got to be able to trust your team members. No matter what you do. And you go there, so everyone is used to being a team. So we've gone from a 5-man fog attack team to a 5,000 World Firefighter Games team.
Jesus. It's massive, yeah. It's such a behemoth for you guys to be organising. So when we're looking at coming out this year, for people that want to find out more information about it, what is the best place for them to go to? What's the best place for people to get in contact? Because again, it will be here before we know it. It will absolutely race around. It's September of this year. So for people to get themselves boxed off and organised, and certainly start sorting out teams again, because you look at the buffet of stuff that's on offer. It's just huge.
Well, it's www.wfg2024.dk is the website.
We will stick that in the notes for people to go and have a look at. I know we're on a time cap this morning. I want to be respectful of your time. And we're going to get some proper time together when we're out in Saudi. We'll get some food and some drinks together. It would be cool. Is there anything that we want to cover before we head off? Is there anyone we've forgotten to mention? Is there anything that you want to sort of leave in the minds of listeners before we head off?
Well, I just want to leave in the mind of the listeners that come to Aalborg for a great time. It's a great party city, and you'll be able to compete, meet, and eat to your heart's content.
That last one is 100% on my, but I'm not drank in 17 years, but I can eat like I'm still 24 stone. Yeah. So I used to be massive, and heading out to Saudi, everyone's talking about the post-competition food. That seems to be some of the biggest conversation that's going on in the WhatsApp, what everyone's going to be eating and smashing when we finish. But beautiful. Well, look, I look forward to seeing you out there in a few weeks, brother, and then hopefully making some plans together for the games this year.
No worries, Pete. Take care, mate.
Cheers,
in the meantime, stay safe.
The Firefighters podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our driving purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests, and as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're around the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.